a pilot.
I'm guessing that wasn't your first choice.
But I'm a big believer in second chances.
Do you have a visual? Over! Let's do this together!
Pacific Rim, rated PG-13, now playing in Real D 3D and IMAX 3D.
Hello, I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. Today I am reviewing Pacific Rim, a film that is heavily inspired by Japanese monster movies, in what I can only assume is Hollywood apologizing for the last time they tried emulating that genre, and failed so miserably. Set in 2025, Pacific Rim shows us a world where alien monsters known as kaiju emerge from the depths of the Pacific Ocean and devastate coastal regions. In response, humanity joins forces and creates giant robots known as Jaegers to fight against the beasts from below. While this film is intended as a love letter to giant monster movies, I can safely say that as a non-fan I still very much enjoyed this film. It borrows elements from giant monster movies, but never to the point where it becomes impenetrable for newcomers. In fact, the movie spends a good deal of time introducing the concepts of these kinds of films to newcomers. For example, the first shot of the movie is a slide that shows the definition of the words kaiju, which is Japanese for giant monsters, and Jaeger, which is German for hunter. This is quick enough so as not to annoy long-time fans, but still long enough to inform newcomers, if you understand my meaning. Also, they give a very detailed explanation as to why Jaegers need two pilots. A Jaeger is controlled by thought, not by remote control, so as to move more fluidly, but the strain is far too much for the human mind to take. So what's the solution? Have two controllers. That way the strain is split between them, and thus the load is much lighter. Details like that really aid in creating an atmosphere for this film. The movie also pokes fun at some aspects of this genre, but I'll get to that later. I was excited to see this film because I was curious to see a Hollywood blockbuster with some fairly big ties to East Asian culture, as it is quite rare to see any sort of culture, foreign or otherwise, in Hollywood films. One good example of this is the majority of the film is set in Hong Kong, which allows for some really great imagery, not to mention some excellent fight scenes. It's also nice to see a fairly diverse cast of characters, but that brings me to my only two real complaints about the film: the plot and the characters. It's not that the story and characters are bad, they're just kinda underdeveloped in one note. For example, at the start of the film, when the Jaegers first defeat the kaiju, they set off a global craze, with people making toys and the Jaeger pilots becoming international stars. Now, that sounds like a really interesting bit of commentary on not just monster movie fandom, but of consumer culture in general, and enjoy that while it lasts, because it's completely forgotten about after the prologue. While the story is decent enough for a movie, at least for a movie where the focus is on amazing special effects and giant action scenes, it could have been so much more. But like I said, there's just enough to keep your attention, but only just. The same could be said about the characters, though not quite to the same degree. Charlie Hunnam plays the veteran with a dark past, Idris Elba plays a leader with a dark past, and Rinko Kikuchi plays the rookie with a dark past. Yeah, everyone has a dark past in this movie. I guess you can only fight alien monsters for so long without taking on some sort of mental trauma. Kikuchi definitely gets the best dark backstory, mostly because it's told largely through visuals, not through rushed dialogue. While these characters are pretty trite, the actors seem to know that and manage to add a bit more depth to them, but only a bit. The same could be said for Ron Perlman, who plays a man who sells kaiju organs on the black market. Ew. Perlman really embodies the guy who acts tough but is really just a coward hiding behind money and guns. All these characters embody action movie cliches, but subvert them in a fairly straight-faced way. This causes a problem when we are introduced to Charlie Day and Bern Gorman's characters. These two embody the eccentric scientist cliché, but they seem far too cartoony and over the top to be in the universe the movie has established, which is really an incredible statement considering this is a world with sea monsters and dimensional portals. But, moving on. Despite any flaws I may have mentioned, Pacific Rim is a spectacular good time, which brings me to something new in my reviews. From now on, I'm going to be using a rating system that I've cooked up. Let me explain. A big screen rating means that you should definitely see a movie in theaters, with a in 2D or in 3D added, depending on whether the film is in 3D, and if so, is it worth the price. A small screen means a movie is worth seeing, but you should wait to see it on DVD or through streaming. Finally, a no screen means a movie is not worth seeing. At all. With that exposition out of the way, I definitely give Pacific Rim a big screen in 3D. Trust me, it's more than worth the price of admission. I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. Goodbye.